Hello my friends, welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021. This is Jennifer. We are outside with the cicadas again because I have a pile of show and tell that I did not expect to have today. I have been doing some DIY, but I've really been pacing myself, and I find it a lot easier to do because my husband is working from home in the adjacent room, so I have to save the loud things for when he's not on the clock. I have been redoing my son's bedroom floor. About half of it is done, and then I will move the furniture to the other side of the room and do the other half, but that's for later this week and it has nothing to do with what I'm showing you right now. In between all the other stuff, the last month or so I have been quilting here and there, and I have 6 quilts to show you guys today. The first 3 are orphan block quilts that I made, and that is what's behind me. I'll move so you can see the sky in a minute. This first quilt was made before I had surgery last year. So I had surgery in September of last year. I think I did this about a year ago, and it's been hanging with my finished quilt tops and quilt backs and whatever for a year, just waiting to be quilted. So I got it on the frame recently, got it all quilted, and it is quilted all over with sort of a medium meander. I did have to do some creative quilting because a few of the blocks were appliqued, and the fusible that was in them was very stiff, so I had to just be extra careful not to break my thread and that kind of thing. But I got it quilted, it worked out really well. I remember piecing this, and I remember chatting with Jules like the whole day I was piecing it and just putting it together like a puzzle. Some of these blocks I had had for years, and a variety of these were sent by just different people. So if you recognize any of these blocks, let me know. I'm happy to give you credit. I just don't remember specifically who sent them all. On the other side here, we have 2 orphan block quilts made entirely from orphan blocks that Lynn sent me. As you guys probably remember, Lynn has sent me a whole lot of stuff that came from her sister-in-law's stash, and that includes quilt tops, fabrics, orphan blocks. So these orphan blocks, the pineapples you see in the center, they were left over from a quilt top that I actually gave to Jules for her project Linus in Albuquerque. It was a much larger quilt, and we, Linus Connection here in Austin, we don't need, right this minute, don't need much larger quilts. So I've been focusing on baby and smaller quilts. So I gave her the quilt top, and then I used the rest of the blocks to make an orphan block quilt. And I am calling this orphan blocks, even though they all came in a set, because several of them weren't finished, or they were missing pieces, or they were the wrong size. So there was some fiddling and finishing up that I had to do with these to get them in this quilt, and they were definitely left over from a quilt, so they were indeed orphan blocks. The one next to it, the applique, that one was also made from orphan blocks donated by Lynn. Those are machine applique on top of flannel. And I think one of them had one little piece that wasn't sewn down, and I just quilted over it to hold it in place. That was the little elephant's tail. Everything else had been appliqued. I think there were 1 or 2 of these left over, but I don't remember for sure. Both this quilt and this quilt I pieced. This quilt and this quilt I pieced at Retreat with Jules in May. I'm going to flip these over so you guys can see the back. The backs of these 3 quilts all came from fabrics that were donated by Susan, by Lynn, and by Laura. Those were the big donations I showed you guys a couple weeks ago. There's a Winnie the Pooh flannel on the back of this one. This one is all kinds of fun summery things, geckos and butterflies and sunshines and frogs. And then this one, I'm pretty sure, was a quilt back and had been removed because it still had some thread and going in diagonal lines all the way across it. You can actually see a little bit of the other fabric that was already attached to it when I loaded in the frame, and I ended up with just a little bit of it on the side, and it works out just fine. So I have 3 more quilts to show you guys. I did not piece these tops, and I wanted to explain, in case I've never done this before, that when I get donated tops and I quilt them and I finish them for Linus, I sign them in under the name of the person who made the quilt top. So like if I get orphan blocks and I turn those into a quilt and then I quilt it and then I bind it, I put my name on it. Or I might put Jennifer and Friends of Fandom and Stitches, or Jennifer and Friends of TTMT, or something like that. But when I get a quilt top that's already finished, I will put that person's name on it. So these are made by, this one was made by Susan, and This one was donated by Lynn. And then this one was, the sun is right in my face, guys. This one was made by Sarah, who lives here in Austin. So I quilted and bound all 3 of these, and they will go for donation to the Linus Connection right here in Central Texas. And these are all preemie size. Susan's quilt is 30 inches, so that gives you a good idea. You got 30, 32, 29. So these are all preemie sized and will go out in our preemie donations for Linus. I've been in a super swirly mood when I've been quilting, so these 2 quilts are swirls. This one I did a meander on because it was before the swirls hit me. This guy is also swirls, and you can see this one really well because the backs are flannel and this is also flannel, so it puckers up really nicely. You get a little bit of a trapunto-ish look to it. Just a quick little piece about the backs of these. These 2 backs, the one on the far right and the one in the middle, I believe were donated by Susan. Those are both flannels. And then this one was actually an entire bolt of fabric that I had that was donated to Linus. I still have quite a lot of that, so you're gonna see that on the back of a lot of quilts. I've turned just slightly so I can get the sun out of my eyes since I don't have anything on the fence anymore. The last thing I have to show you guys comes with a little bit of a story, not a very long one. So you know, last year, the end of last year, the beginning of this year, after I had surgery, I was crocheting constantly because I was off my feet. I was non-weight bearing. It was nigh on impossible to use my sewing machine just because it was hard to get to it because I was on a scooter or crutches, and I crocheted constantly. I don't even know how much yarn I went through. I went through a ton of yarn. So in February, when I started walking again, I kind of stopped crocheting, just stopped. And I thought that I had barely started a blanket for Linus and thought that I had 90% of it left to crochet. So when the Olympics started, I pulled it out and I'm like, I'm gonna work on this blanket. It'll take me through the Olympics. I pulled it out and I had like 6 rows left. So I did finish it during the Olympics, but it took me like half an hour. So I wanted to show this to you guys. I started this, I think, probably in January, and I don't remember the name of the pattern. I will find it for you guys though. It is one that I have bookmarked and I've made several times before. I've made it in various sizes. This is a slightly larger one, as you can see. It's more of a teen size, which we don't super need right now, but I will be turning it into Linus when we do need it. And I'm just really happy that this happened to be done. This is made entirely from Joann's Big Twist yarn. I bought quite a bit of it when I was off my feet, and yeah, so that's what I made this out of. I'm really happy with it. I think it's fun. I think the colors are really bright and cheerful, and it'll go to the Linus Connection. That is going to be it for me today, guys. I am surprised at how much I had to share, but also delighted. I hope that you had a very wonderful week. I hope you had a crafty week. I would love to see your videos, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.